Thank you, Graham. Thank you, everyone. I'm completely, obviously, as they always say, overwhelmed. But then I have had 3 rather busy days. But how wonderful to have Instant Sunshine here. And to hear them singing about Tring. I was particularly pleased to hear them because in the week of Her Majesty's birthday, I'll share with you my favourite clean limerick. There was a young lady from Tring who didn't know how to sing. It was very odd. She couldn't tell God Save the Wheels from Prop Goes the King. There you are. Thank you and goodbye. It's impossible for me to know what to say because I'm completely overwhelmed, not only by today, but by 21 years. Graham inadvertently said 25 years. It only feels like 50. I have had, and this is no messing about, the best 21 years of my life being with you people. How many people can say, I live in the Cotswolds, but I have 700 friends in Surrey? You have been unbelievably wonderful. You made me feel so welcome. You have sung your socks off, never more so than this weekend. The last 3 days I will never forget. Every single division has been at the peak of its powers, and I am so proud to be handing this organisation over to Jonathan because he's a lucky man. I was lucky enough to have it handed over to me by Bill. And because Bill is here, you know, it's wonderful that Bill is. He's older than the Queen. Bill, will you come up and join us? Because everyone would love really to see you. The amazing Bill Llewellyn. Keep clapping until he gets up here. I don't care how long it takes. Unstoppable as ever, he wants to say something.
First of all, there's a sense of unreality about all this, but I have enjoyed Brian and his music for many years and admired it, and I'm so pleased to feel that the Vaughan Williams ghost is still floating over here in a big way. And that brings me to something I think about quite often. Leith Hill is always at the back of my mind, and I remember Ursula, who looked after VW so wonderfully. She was quite a lady. She came to everything, she took him everywhere, and they were a wonderful couple. I have many personal reminiscences of her, but one in particular perhaps I could tell you. She came to stay, and each morning I took her a cup of tea, festooned among pillows, wonderful sight. Mildred, bless her heart, had made me a paisley nightshirt, very highly decorous. And one morning I walked in with this nightshirt, gave her a cup of tea. Good morning. What a very pretty dress. Thank you all. It's lovely to see you all. God bless you, and God bless Brian and Jonathan.
Thank you, Bill. Says it was Bill who invited me here in 1986 to narrate a concert, and I've known him since I was a teenager, and he wasn't much older, and I was so thrilled when he asked me to join the music committee, and then he said that he was going to retire, and I said to Deirdre Hicks, who was then of course the chairman, dear Deirdre, who's here this morning, I said, do you think I could apply for the job? She said, you can have it. greatly in her debt too. They've been amazing years, and people say that if you're lucky enough to be the conductor of a festival like this, you can bring something to it, you can teach people something. I have learned more from you people than you could ever have learned from me, because I know it's not true, but some things one has to say. But it's been a joy, and I've just had one or two little statistics. I've done a statistic. I've got some facts and figures together, just out of interest. I've conducted 84 concerts, including the 4 we did at Charterhouse to begin with, while they were rebuilding the Dorking Halls. Fancy going to that trouble just for me. We have featured 150 composers, including 40 of those still living. That's very important. For any choral organisation, you've got to do new music by living composers. Carefully chosen, but nonetheless. We have had, during my time, 286 outstanding soloists, 48 outstanding choir conductors, some of whom are here today. Only 2 chairmen, only 3 treasurers, 2 secretaries, 2 accompanists, 2 presidents, 2 orchestras, and 1 conductor and wife. And Gilly, as you know, is a great part of Team K. One of the things that the young, relatively young conductors who've been taking over year after year, they bring in younger singers. And this is the lifeblood of the future of this festival. You know, there are people of all ages singing in this festival, and that's wonderful too. And long may it continue. But one member I remember was getting rather more mature, and began to worry a bit about the possible approach of the Grim Reaper. And he thought it was time to have a word with the Almighty, so he went down on his knees and he said, could you tell me, is there a choir in heaven that I can join when the trumpets have sounded for me on the other side? And the voice came back and said, do you want the good news or the bad news? He said, I have the good news first. He said, there is indeed a choir in heaven. So the bad news is you're expected at this evening's rehearsal. Bill has more funny stories than anyone I've ever known. I remember once we were at a music committee meeting and I chose a little madrigal, some of you will know this, by Pilkington called In Going to My Naked Bed. Some of you probably sang that. And Bill, of course, as soon as I mentioned it, he said, yes, he said, years ago, he said, I got a music list from Novello's publishers of all the pieces that were available for madrigal groups. And it actually said on it in print, In Going to My Naked Bed, brackets, with or without accompaniment. I don't understand that one. One thing that's enriched my life is the comments made by adjudicators. I've got just a couple here which I rather enjoyed. Conductors once said, are there to remind you what you've done in rehearsals, rather than trying to persuade you to do what you have no intention of doing anyway. Another one said, there's a wandering bass who needs rounding up. Poor old basses, they do their best. The definition of a minor second. 2 baritones singing in unison. There's always the problem about pitch, isn't there? And one of them said, at least, like those on the Titanic, you all went down together. These are all from Leith Hill, it's nothing to do with me. Lovely one too, he said, when it comes to the men, there's no such thing as multitasking. They either sing or smile. Too right. You probably remember some of you were saying in the St. John Passion this year, I told the story, reminded you of the occasion we did the St. Matthew Passion. And you probably all remember Richard Stangroom, very distinguished conductor. Distinguished looking gentleman, beard, smart, lovely man. And he used to chorus master the annual Passion. And I always like to give credit to the chorus master. And he was sitting up on the front of the balcony there. At the end of the St. Matthew Passion, I turned around and waved to him. He stood up, took a bow. Lovely. And two people were heard as they were going out of the concert saying, one was saying to the other, wasn't it so nice that the composer could be there? The other one I remember was that gorgeous story about, Vaughan Williams knew that he wasn't a great conductor. Apparently he was, gosh, that went quiet. Great composer, sometime. And he knew he wasn't a great conductor, but it was all in the eyes, apparently, those of you who remember him. He had a wonderful persona and all that sort of thing. He's a man I would most love to have met. And there was a lovely story about one of the, he did a combined rehearsal as I've done, and all the choirs came together. And after it, one of the baritones went back, it's always a baritone, isn't it? One of the baritones went back to his own conductor and said, Dr. Vaughan Williams took it an awful lot slower than you did. But he said, don't worry, he said, I did it at your speed. Element of truth in that. What a joy this particular festival has been, and you can't end better than with Verdi's Requiem, particularly when the last two words of which are libera me, release me. I can't thank you all enough for being so wonderful, and I'm going to ask Jonathan Wilcox. Jonathan, come up and join me with you. It's so wonderful you've taken over. My job is literally, you know I don't use one, to hand over the baton.
Thank you very much, Brian. In the last 9 months since I was asked to succeed Brian, I've been excited and I've been honoured. And now, after being a fly on the wall in the last 3 days, I feel really thrilled too. I really look forward to working with you all, starting with Matthew next January, and then our programme leading up to this time next year. So I really look forward to getting to know you all much better, and sometimes being nasty to you. But always we're going to be sharing a love of choral music, and that's what Leith Hill's all about. Thank you very much indeed.
Say that having passed on the baton to you, unfortunately, as it belonged to Vaughan Williams, you can't keep it. Bless you all, thank you so much. I love you to bits, and I'll miss you so much, and I'll be back.